Hey everyone, welcome to Canal Days, and thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Maple Street School of Easthampton, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and here with my co-host, local historian and founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Como. As your personal tour guide, Robert will lead you through some of the most iconic sites and their legends of historic significance throughout New England's preeminent and pivotal state of Massachusetts. With his expert insights, every monument and memorial story comes to life. Afterwards, don't forget to check out his website, holyokecanaltour.org, to access the full Canal Days video and podcast series. Also, check out his free in-person public tours he offers throughout Western Mass and the 2025 schedule for these special events. You can also book personalized private tours for groups of all sizes tailored to your interests. To discover all that and much more, remember to log on to holyokecanaltour.org. And so, Robert, describe the architectural style.
It's a British Renaissance style. Think of Shakespeare. The Tudor style was such that when they had institutions like this, they built a lot of vertical elements and then tiny horizontal ones off that to make this pattern. So I'm going to show it to you up close. And the entablature does say that Maple Street School. And then up above, they have something that looks like a chalice on a Bible and two scrolls to the side. And the British Renaissance style is this style that you see here, with a lot of verticals going up like I mentioned. And then it has diagonal face bricks towards the midsection, very much in this style that they would have used in the British Renaissance. Alright, so it's a nice little style. Now the building was made in the year 1897, has a neighborhood school for this section of Easthampton, and it was closed in the year 2022. It lasted 125 years as a school, and it was just closed 3 years ago because the Mountain View School was opened in the southern part of Easthampton, which is a kindergarten up to 8th grade school. And that enormous school took over the job of all these neighborhood schools that Easthampton had going. There's a lot of population in this particular section of Easthampton. And now they're going to be bussed out there, but it's a very beautiful school now. And this one was getting quite old. But on one side, the left side, they have a Romanesque arch here. And a lot of British Renaissance buildings would use it if they use it at all. Now in the back of the building, you can see mostly it's just a lot of windows back here. It's a 2-floor building, and I bet you if they find a buyer for it, they can make it into apartments. A lot of schools are going in that direction. Okay, then along the last side of all, we have some more elements of the British Renaissance. And that's it. Now it's on a very busy location, just 100 feet away. There are the busy streets of Easthampton. And off to one side, you can see all these British Renaissance values that it has throughout itself. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Canal Days. As always, I am your host, Carrie, along with my co-host, founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Como. Our Canal Days series delves into the vast collection of historical sites throughout Massachusetts, with Robert's expertise of the local history as our personal guide. Each episode, we uncover histories about local communities, highlighting historic landmarks and remaining relics, while uncovering their seminal significance. Today's episode of Canal Days, we'll be learning about the Schools of Easthampton, Massachusetts. And we'll also be talking about education pre-Civil War, the first high school of Easthampton, older elementary schools, and modern day education. So let's begin today's episode of Canal Days. Reveal what education was like in Easthampton prior to Civil War.
There were 12 one-school schoolhouses around Easthampton, servicing the districts that existed. So children would have to not walk more than about 2 miles to their schoolhouse. And it was only one room, so could you imagine what education was like? You had to go from first grade to 12th grade. Inside this one room schoolhouse, the teacher would have to know all the subjects from first grade subjects up to 12th grade. And that was pretty hard to do. And that system, of course, around Massachusetts would change. In Easthampton, it changed probably, I would say, earlier than most in Western Massachusetts, because a lot of rural towns in Western Massachusetts didn't change till much later. So it wasn't until they got a separate high school that drastically the town was given power to close all those one-room schoolhouses and convert them over into bigger schools with specialized subjects and teachers. So it was a drastic change off a system that might be viewed as being archaic.
And clarify the changes that were made in the first high school.
All right, in 1864, Easthampton High School finally opened up with its own building, still there at 1 Northampton Street. It existed as a separate high school 1864 to 1912. And then it moved onwards. From 1912 to 1961, they existed in the building that's across the street from the Easthampton Public Library. And there it stayed about half a century, and from 1961, they opened up a third edition of it, which is still in its location. All 3 Easthampton high schools still exist. The 2 older ones converted along the way into elementary schools after they were done with their high school edition. And so, for instance, the original building, very close to Pulaski Park, in 1912, when it closed to being a high school, opened up for 27 years to be the Park Primary School. And even when that left, it became Memorial Hall, which was a function building or a social function hall named after memorializing the men from Easthampton that died during the course of wars. And so these buildings have changed drastically along the way. The second edition of the Easthampton High School, when in 1961 they left there, even that would change into what was called the Park Primary School, and later into the Pepin School. So Easthampton's great. Every one of its high schools still exists, and there's not many communities around the Connecticut River Valley that have that being true.
We'll be right back after this quick announcement. Are you fascinated by local history and eager to investigate the obscure treasures off the beaten path throughout the state of Massachusetts? Or maybe just seeking an unforgettable cultural activity for family and friends to enjoy? Look no further than Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, founded by Robert Comoon. With over a decade of experience, Robert offers captivating tours and presentations of historic sites and landmarks throughout the state. Whether you're interested in canals, cemeteries, charming churches, and more, Robert's tours provide a unique and enriching experience for all. And that's not it. You can also schedule private tours tailored to your interests, ensuring a personalized adventure and unforgettable memories. Perfect for families or groups of all sizes, making for an exciting hands-on learning experience that brings history to life. Simply visit holyokecanaltour.org or email bobcat4214 capital B at yahoo.com to book your private tour today. Getting back to our episode on the Schools of Easthampton, recite the names of some of the older elementary schools amongst Easthampton.
All right, some of those older elementary schools, most of them still in place. There were a series of them on Chapel Street, but two were taken down. One was left for a while, but its replacement is still there, the Maple Street School from 1897 for 125 years to the year 2022. It existed as an elementary school in the Easthampton Public School System. And most or all of the elementary school and middle schools are now together in the Mountain View School. There was also a Center Union School from 1903, still there on 9 School Street. And you get to see how these old schools look very similar in their look. And I've went through already the Easthampton high school system and its many changes. There was a school, Park Primary School, that existed from 1912 to 39. That's another one. And that existed at two different locations. So when Easthampton High School changed its first building over, it became Park Primary. When it changed its second Easthampton High School over again, it changed it to Park Primary School. So that one doesn't exist since 1961, I believe, because it changed to Pepin School. All right, so all the multi-room schoolhouses around Easthampton still exist. Now, there is still the Parsons Street School. That one, I don't know when it closed, but probably 1990s. But that was put up to service the new city village, which was Boylston Mills built up. A lot of kids had to find a closer place to go to school. Now, all of this does not count the private school, the Williston School, of course, and it does not count the Catholic schools. Three of them had their own school system. So all of them had their own school system. And that's wonderful, and that took some of the pressure off of the school system of Easthampton for a long time.
And define modern education.
Okay, in Easthampton, you only have 2 schools left. And that's because you don't need to have them centralized. Easthampton is a very centralized community, and the school system was too. And a lot of them are centered around either the center or around the worker villages. Now, since people have better cars since the 1960s, you could put schools a little bit further up. And so Easthampton High School since 1961 has been put right behind Ward Street. And then there was a middle school put in. I don't know exactly what it was put in. That's one thing I'm coming up short. But it's now called Mountain View School. It's been around from the year 2022. But its predecessor before that probably was around from the 60s also. And that's the southern of all the schools, the furthest one away from the downtown locations.
And thank you for tuning in to our episode on the Easthampton schools and joining us on our journey to the rich history of the Connecticut River Valley. We hope you enjoyed uncovering some of the hidden and overlooked marvels and their fascinating stories that shaped our past and the state of Massachusetts. A special thanks to Robert Camus, founder of the Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, for sharing his passion and expertise with us. Remember, you can find more information about Robert's tours, book private tours, and explore the Canal Days video and podcast series at holyokecanaltour.org. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for future episodes. Don't forget to keep exploring and discovering history that is hidden in plain sight all around us. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to tune to our next episode of Canal Days. And log on to hoyocanaltour.org. Until next time.